everything else. It's the journey that you're taking on the way. And that's why it's so important to, keep track of your day to day so that you can reflect and then look back and know that, everything that you've accumulated, all the lessons, all the wrong turns, all the refusals, rejections, and all those actually amount to giving you exactly what you need, even though it's like a hard pill to swallow at the time. Eventually things come full circle, and it's a way to be able to measure and look back on that.
Welcome to the Mighty Emotions podcast. I'm your host, Giselle. I'm a certified emotions coach, and I teach you how to respond better to your emotions so you can feel better in your life. My mission is to show you how to work with your emotions to become more emotionally resilient. Your emotions are not designed to overpower you. They're designed to empower you. On this podcast, I share what our emotions are, how to understand them and work with them, and the tools you need to reclaim your power and get unstuck from emotional pain so you can find fulfillment in your life again. I'm so glad you're here. Now let's get into the episode. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Mighty Emotions podcast. I'm so glad you are still listening. If you just discovered this podcast, my name is Giselle. I'm an emotions coach, and I help you achieve emotional mastery in your life. So this podcast is really about talking about real life emotions, normalizing emotional journeys. And today I have an amazing guest, which is a beautiful soul, Lucie Dawson, who is the founder and creator of TEMPLA, which is currently available in the App Store. It's a visualization app, and it is in its infancy, but it is being built. It's going to have vision boarding and visualization exercises and so much more coming. So I'll let Lucie kind of intro herself in a second, but I just wanted to have this conversation because I know how diligently she's been working on this and how much kind of hurdles have been overcome, and the resilience and the tenacity of her and the people involved with bringing this to life. So I thought it would be really good for us to talk about what the emotions are on this journey of bringing something big into the world. And I just thank you so much for being a guest today, Lucie.
Thank you so much, Giselle. I'm so excited and honored to be on this amazing podcast. And likewise, I've been following your journey as well. And yeah, it's just been a ride and a half, and just to see each other kind of thrive and put ourselves out there into spaces that, we hadn't previously. It's just always a joy to be amongst other crazy but also impassioned people that just can't not let that creativity come out from them. And thank you for the wonderful intro, and I'm really excited to share some of what's been going on and the emotions that have arisen from birthing something like this, and just hopefully can connect with your audience.
Absolutely. I'm sure you will. You guys will have to follow Lucie. Her contact will all be in the show notes, of course. And you might hear that she has a gorgeous are you from England but live in Australia, right?
Yes. So I am English but Australian, but when we met, I think I was living in LA. I like LA.
Yes, a traveling spirit. So thank you so much. I know there's a time difference and everything, so grateful that you're here. Let the listeners kind of know a little bit about how you came into creating TEMPLA, like how it was formed.
Excuse me. So I was a chef for many, many years, for around nearly 20 years now. And I was around 35 years old after a big breakup, a kind of shift in my just what I wanted to be, who I wanted to express, and knowing that I was like, I'm not sure if I want to be a chef for the rest of my life. So I just started my own private chefing business. And I don't know if anyone can relate, but I'd kind of built something and the goalpost suddenly moved. So I was like, had built this website as a chef and like got everything all sorted. I was making pretty good money. I had great clients. doing private chefing, you know, flying all around the world on boats and cooking for, you know, ritzy glitzy clients and whatnot. But I just had this emptiness, and I was like, is this it? Is this what I was working towards all the time? And then I had this kind of existential crisis in 2018 where I was like, well, if this is not it, then what is? And I feel like that's kind of a common thread, you know, with a lot of people when they get to a certain state of success, they start to kind of delve deeper into, okay, well, this isn't fulfilling something within my soul. Maybe this is not my purpose. And maybe, you know, like a lot of our career moves, it's a stepping stone onto something different. So at that point, I had enough kind of spiritual awareness to know that perhaps it was time for me to kind of look within. So I actually went through that period. I went through a really deep healing journey. I went to the Amazon and I did ayahuasca, and ayahuasca was very adamant in telling me to learn how to meditate. So when I came back from that big trip in Peru, I was like, okay, meditation. I've not really connected in that way before. And like me, you know, I like to live my extremes. I would go and try a psychedelic, you know, medicine in the depths of Amazon before actually just sitting down on my couch at home and how to meditate. I mean, come on, it's kind of the wrong way around, but there you go. But I then, you know, through that connection to myself and actually learning to sit with myself, I just became really enamored with meditation. I got really into the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza. His work really lit me up. I kind of read all of his books in a very short amount of time and started putting his meditations and practices in action. And it really lit me up, not only the way that he was able to bring the science and spirituality together, but also elaborate and communicate it in such a way that I understood. I understood what he was communicating on a neurological level, what was happening in our brain, and then actually putting that to practice, sitting down each day, meditating, making a practice out of it. I very quickly began to see a lot of change, positive change in my life. And just for a really good example for just synchronicities that were occurring, I was still chefing because I didn't know what my next stage was, but I knew something wasn't exactly right because I was kind of not really loving the type of people that I was cooking for. Some of the people were, you know, not doing great things in the world. We didn't have our values aligned, and I was really just a little bit exasperated of cooking for people that were, you know, just our values just did not match. Let's just leave it there. And so I really made that like an important thing on my list. Like, I want to work for good people that are, you know, doing good in the world. And I want to work for X amount of hours a day or days a week. And I want to, you know, cook with really healthy organic ingredients. And I really concentrated on this and started using that as part of my meditation practice. I wrote all of the key points of the type of job that I wanted to work in. And I would meditate on that feeling, and I would do that really diligently for maybe a month or two before it actually materialized. And sure enough, about a few months later, I got a call from another chef friend of mine, and I went for this interview. And the crazy thing was, when I arrived at the interview, I had just returned back from chefing on a yacht in Papua New Guinea, and the lady of the house who I was going for the interview, she independently had just come back from Papua New Guinea, and we had literally just gone to the same remote island. Like, I can't tell you how the island was, but we'd literally been within the same 2 weeks gone to the same extremely remote place. And to top it off, when her son walked in the room, it turns out that when I was Uber driving and I was, you know, trying to make ends meet with a new car that I had, it turns out that he had been my first ride. I'd taken him to the airport. And so it was just this culmination of just like incredible synchronicities where I had really put a lot of effort in my meditation practice to show me that I had indeed manifested this. So I was like, whoa, I got the job. But also I was like, it really just kind of inspired me deeper to keep going with these practices, because I realized, I was like, there is actually something to this. It's not just woo-woo nonsense. You can affect reality through your thoughts. And so I carried on just going deeper with the process. And long story short, I ended up buying a product that was all around creating a vision and then mixing it with affirmations. And I used that because I really liked the concept, because I'm such a visual person. But at some stage, I just, after using it for a few months, I realized, I was like, this is not cutting it. It needs to be done in a different way. The quality of the photos, the style and the aesthetic of the product just wasn't, matching what I really, was putting out there myself. So and I can remember the exact date, because it was literally like a aha, God, like, this is your purpose moment. And it was the 11th of February 2019, and I had got up from my early morning meditation. I just watched this montage with affirmations to kind of prime my consciousness before going into this practice that I was using. And I just got tingles all over, and it was just like, oh my God, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this. And it was like, there was literally no doubt in my mind. It was like a new direction. It was like someone put a new GPS address in my kind of soul's like programming. And I just knew from that day onwards that was what I was here for. And literally, even though it's been a crazy journey, I mean, that's 4 years ago now, there's not really been a day or a week or an extended period of time where I've been like, I'm on the wrong track. It's like, yes, it's been really difficult, and it's been bumpy terrain, and sometimes I've run out of fuel, and it's been really difficult. But like, I've never once kind of wavered, or really, I've never disregarded that kind of sense that this is what I'm here to do. So yeah, long story short, that's where this idea came from.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible. And I've heard some of this story before, and just hearing it again, I'm just like smiling. You can't see me, listeners, but I'm like, what an incredible journey to go from this kind of heartbreak pinnacle moment. I mean, that my own heartbreak was such a catalyst for the way my life has played out. Like, I think that breakups are portals, and that when that kind of thing happens and you're forced to make such huge internal shifts, that the external shifts are inevitable. There's so much I want to unpack here with what you said.
Yeah.
So when it comes to, because everything comes back to emotions here, and you talked a lot about looking for what you wanted to do and kind of feeling lost and unclear and unsure. And sometimes, there's different things that we can feel. I always tell people, it's not like one circumstance is supposed to make you feel a certain way. Some people have a breakup and they're like, yeah, I am free, and they're happy, and other people are miserable. So what were the feelings and the emotions that you were going through at that time, when you kind of come to this crossroads and you didn't really know the next direction that you were going in?
Well, I guess because the breakup actually happened like a long, long time ago, like over 10 years, but it was a really long, strenuous and breakup that involved splitting a property up. So it really floored me financially. And so I feel like my kind of efforts was to just become more independent, and I had to start from scratch again, really. And after working really hard, like for most of my 20s on these yachts, I don't know if you know that show Below Deck, but I used to work
Oh,
on,
yeah.
so
Oh my gosh, you worked on that.
I used to work as a chef from the age of 19 on that type of
Oh my gosh. Okay.
like industry. And so yeah, I just had to start all over again, really. And it was like kind of like wanting to get back on the property ladder, wanting to really be the master of my own destiny and not to be reliant to be in a relationship or have that kind of cookie cutter white picket fence life that I was so desiring. I grew up in a pretty unstable, eclectic and lovely, but it was kind of a very alternative lifestyle. As a child, we moved so much. Like I think we moved about 13 times in the space of 4 or 5 years, and so that obviously bled into the way that I love travel. Like I love to be on the move. So the plus sides have just obviously manifested in that way, but also in a more kind of way that I really just yearn for kind of some sense of security in some kind of place to call home. And when the breakup happened, I think the rug really got just pulled from underneath my feet, because where I considered home now wasn't home, and I didn't have the means to kind of create that for myself again. So that created this really yearning desire to not just I wanted to have the affluence and the capacity to earn and be my own source of wealth, and not to be, a partner in that. And because it was quite a rough period of my life. And just, being naive when I bought the house with my partner when I was 25, I kind of gave all my power away and didn't really think about the consequences, because I was really happy and in love, and it didn't go particularly well. And I really had to learn that lesson in the hard way. But like looking back now, even though, I'm still I'm still on my way to wealth, but like I wouldn't change it for anything now, because now I'm like, so I just have this kind of like fortitude and self-respect that I'm making my own destiny and I'm making my future wealth through building my own business, because I want to be self-reliant in that way, so that I'm not I have this just fierce independence. So it's kind of just that aspect of me to not have to rely on anyone else apart from myself. Create that life for me.
Yeah, I mean, you touched on the core needs that we have, right? Like all of us at some level, to some degree, have a need for safety and security and connection, right? Like being in the relationship and being in love. And you also talked about earlier, like the meaning and fulfillment that you were seeking, and how that is all, those are also, core needs of ours. And I love that you followed your desires. Like I love that you knew kind of what you were desiring and kind of moved in that direction, because I tell people all the time, your desires are indicative of what you most need, right? And so always honor your desires, even if it comes in a way that maybe you didn't love. Like you said, like they become building blocks to a stronger future self, So all of that I love so much. I really want to dive. I loved what you said about, being okay traveling to the Amazon to take ayahuasca before you would sit with yourself. I love that. I was like, oh my gosh, I can relate. I've never done ayahuasca, but I totally can relate in thinking like, I will do anything but deal with what I'm feeling or sit with myself for whatever reason, right? Like either I was scared of it or I just didn't think it was that simple. Like what was it that kind of made you not consider meditating, or what was it that drew you to the Amazon?
Well, the meditating part, I did try, but I was just like torture. It was like ants in my pants, and it was really hard. I did give it a go, but it just never landed. Like I just did not have a connection to myself. Although I have to admit, I have journaled. So there was a part of me that has had a connection to myself. So I don't want to like write myself off. So I have journaled every single day since 2003. And then I've got a stack of journals from my teenage years as well. So there was a part of me that was like yearning to have
Connect.
this connection, but I just didn't know how to channel it. And I guess my soul was just like, you know, we also, that era, we weren't as mindful either. So
Mhm.
it wasn't
Yeah.
as like, you know, readily available. And I guess, you know, I had always kind of considered myself a little bit spiritual, very curious. Like I was really open to everything.
Yeah.
But with the ayahuasca, I think, yeah, so the breakup was in 2012, and I heard about ayahuasca in 2012, and I was just like mind blown, learning about DMT and how it's already in our brains, and just like understanding, you know, just even the fact that it existed was life changing
Mhm.
for me. And I did kind of like put it on the shelf. I was like, I will do that one day, but I don't know when. And obviously that took 6 years to kind of percolate, for it to, yeah, come about. And I actually, at the time, I didn't know anyone personally that had done it, apart from one person, who I met in Bali. And when it was like really coming, like, I think it just became a bit more mainstream on certain
Mainstream.
podcasts. So
Yeah.
I like went down the rabbit hole with different podcasts and started really listening to like an array of different people, and it was really sparking a lot of curiosity. And I think at that time I'd gone through a few other heartbreaks, and I was like making this a similar, like I was just like, okay, Lucy, that's the
Mhm.
person's not the issue, it's you. And I had to kind of like take a little bit of a, you know, humility pill to realize, I was like, I'm just creating the same patterns. So what is this? And I had to like really look at myself in the mirror and go, well, it's not like I want to step out of this victim mentality. I don't want to be that, oh, you know, this person did this to me. They're the bad guy. I'm, you know, I'm the victim. And I was like, no, I don't even want, like, that's not it anymore. Clearly, like, I'm perpetrating the same problems in different relationships. Therefore, I need to like look really deeper into this. And just knowing what I'd read, through Dr. Joe. Oh, sorry, that hadn't happened yet. When I was really going down this rabbit hole, I read a really amazing book. And if any of your listeners, haven't read this, I really recommend it. It's by Gabor Mate, and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
called When the Body Says No. Because, yeah, in 2017, I got this really crazy viral, it was a mosquito-borne, I
Oh,
guess
like a
it's called
illness.
Ross River fever. It's kind of like dengue, but
Malaria? Okay.
similar. Yeah, I was like in bed. I couldn't really function for about 3 months. And so I was bedbound for about 3 months, and I couldn't
Oh my
walk
God.
for 3 weeks. And it really shook me, obviously. And so during that time, at that point in my development, I already understood what, you know, why. I was like, well, why have I manifested this? Like, what's going on? What's actually underneath this illness to kind of stop me? And I'm such a doer. It really was so frustrating to
Yeah, to have
just
to
have to
rest.
sit and just be like, I've got to like rest. And that's all you can do with these viral diseases, is there's nothing that you can take for it. You have to just really sit and rest. And so I just read a lot of books during that time, and one of them really opened my eyes, which was the When the Body Says No by Gabor Mate. And that really put me, I did a lot of research on him, understood where his healing journey went, and took him. And I think that's when the ayahuasca, seed was starting to sprout. And yeah, I contacted the one friend that I knew that had done it. And she was like, well, if you're interested, I can take you to the shaman that, I went to in Peru. And so I was like, okay. And then I have one of my best friends lives in Lima. Everything kind of just happened very quickly. I think everything was booked within the space of, maybe a week or two, and
Wow.
it just worked out perfectly. And you know, like when just you have like green lights and red
Mhm.
carpets pulled out from nowhere, and you're like, okay, this is the right thing to do.
Where you're meant to go. Yes. Yes. No, and I love that, I appreciate your honesty about what you went through. And I think the things that we need to find, like they find us when we we need them, right? So I also love the fact that the ayahuasca was like, go meditate. It was like, go connect to yourself, go sit.
Yeah.
Um, and that's, I mean, meditation for the listeners, you know, if you follow me, you know that my stance is not that you need to do a specific practice to be okay, because everyone kind of needs something different, and meditation can look different for different people, right? Like my meditation, I have different meditations that I do. I love Kundalini and listening to kirtan while I meditate. I love walking meditations or meditating in the shower. It's really just about that being able to connect to yourself, like you were saying, and find there's multiple ways that you can do that. So I love that. And all of that, I feel like the healing journey that you went on, it led you to a place of really reconnecting to yourself and then getting clear on what you wanted. And then, as you mentioned, like reality being affected by our thoughts. But what I heard in what you were saying is more so that it was affected by how you were feeling, like the vibration of the energy in your body as you were visualizing and really feeling yourself have those things that you wanted. Is that accurate to say?
Yeah, definitely. And I actually will share this because I was so averted to sitting down with myself. The way that I kind of hacked that resistance was I just started so small. So like each day, because I would try these like 20-minute long guided meditations, and then I would be like, oh my God, I can't do this. Like this is too much. Like anything to distract me. So I started out by doing, okay, put the time on for 3 minutes, just do a body scan. And I would go through from the, top of my head down to my tippy toes. And I would just give thanks for every single part of myself. And each day, maybe I would add 30 seconds more or a minute, until after a couple of weeks, I was like, my vibration and frequency had just risen. So then I was able to cross the threshold and actually just sit. And then there'll be like moments when I would be able to be like, everything went quiet and the chatter stopped for just like a millisecond. I was like, oh my God, I'm meditating. And I was like, oh, Lucie.
Yes. Like I did it. It worked.
But it's like, it's a practice. And it's like just getting to like, just having that me time, even if it's 3 minutes a day at the beginning. It doesn't matter. It's like about you just having that little sacred moment with yourself and creating that connection and relationship to that deeper part of you that then creates that intuition and the visions, and you begin to trust yourself more. And, it keeps growing and growing from there. It's like a little snowflake that eventually becomes like a snowball, and then like as it progresses, you become way more connected with yourself, with the world around you, your relationships, what guides you, what feels good. You become more in tune with your emotions, 100%. So yeah, it really just kind of became more and more like habit and more normal for myself to be able to sit in meditation. And then, like I said, I could start to see some really huge changes that were, night and day to how it had been before.
Yeah, and could you just share like a one or two of what the biggest kind of changes were on maybe an emotional level or just overall how you kind of felt internally?
Well, at the beginning of my meditation practice, like I said, some big synchronicities were coming through. And that's when I realized, this type of law of attraction and manifesting, I was like, there is definitely something in it. Like it started to, things started shifting. Like I got better jobs. The things that I was writing down in my journals were actually materializing. And that just like propelled me and convinced me more and more that this was the path that I needed to take. I ended up doing a Vipassana 10-day silent retreat in Thailand in April 2019.
Wow.
So that was
you went from not sitting with yourself to a full 10-day silent retreat. That's incredible.
Meditating 14 hours a day. And yeah, that's on another level. And had some really intense, interesting situations there. And it's just like really opening yourself up to consciousness and what that is. And how that entails with, you know, how we interact with the world, with each other. Everything is connected, and it is mind-blowing to know that we are all of us are connected on some shape or form through everything. So it's a really wild journey to keep delving into, and I'm still a fledgling in it, and I'll never give up on discovering more and more of how consciousness works, because it's just something that really fascinates me.
It's so beautiful. And I say that all the time, you know, in the work that I do with emotional regulation and emotional development and self-development, it's so much of being able to hear your own inner wisdom, right? Which we all have access to, but we need to get slow and quiet enough to hear it because it really whispers. It's really subtle, you know, and
Yeah.
there's so much mental chatter because there's so much that we consume on a daily basis. And it's hard to get clear and get focused, which I feel like just tying everything together, TEMPLA is a way for people to get focused, right? Like the app itself, as a visualization app, it really kind of allows people to get clear on what they want to manifest. And I would love if you could kind of tell the listeners more about that.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, my love of journaling and tracking my progress throughout the years has kind of bled into the design of TEMPLA. And I really believe, you know, like, you're obviously like hugely passionate about this, but you know, we are not our emotions, but they tend to, you know,
No, we are
take
not.
us on a roller coaster every day. So I wanted TEMPLA to have that aspect, so that we're you know, logging our progress and keeping track of our patterns, because inevitably they come and go. But if you have that clear vision of where you want to go, or what you want to manifest, or you know, how you envision your life to be, have that as your North Star. And you can have all, you know, you can create your gratitude practice, you can create what your inspired action is, which is, you know, 3 things a day that you can get, just push that needle 1% closer to your goal, and just have a way to kind of see how far you're coming, because it's very easy in this busy world to fully just get lost, you know, in the mix of things, without actually being able to categorically look back and see your progress. So for me, it was really important to have that aspect of like keeping you steady, and understanding that yes, there's ups and downs, but if you still keep that vision in the forefront of your mind and connect with it each day, then you will get there eventually. And it's just a matter of time, and it's just a matter of you committing to yourself and not giving up. And I think that's really important in this day and age, because we're bombarded with so much distraction, and I feel like it's designed like that, you know, like we are so
Yeah.
you know, just everything is just coming at us at lightning speed. And I just feel like it's, you know, we just need to have that kind of constant connection in some shape or form, whether it's a meditation practice, exercise, or you know, just even connecting to yourself through your creative outlets. It just gives you a way to really look back on your progress in some shape or form. And yeah, TEMPLA is born out of my desire to kind of share that, because it's helped me so much in my journey.
Yes, I mean, business is service. So thank you for creating this and staying on the path, even when, you know, there have been these challenging moments and there will continue to be. And when you talk about having the vision as your North Star, I love that so much, because when we struggle with motivation, it's really motivation is either we're moving away from something or we're moving towards something. And having that North Star saying, I actually know what I'm moving toward, I feel like
Mm,
it can't happen without us connecting to ourselves. Like, how can we really know until we listen to that quiet thing within us that lets us know what we really want, and then have the, you know, courage to go toward it? Because I'm sure that even on your journey of manifesting, there have been emotional blocks, let's say. It's really common for people on a manifestation journey to like want something, but to be afraid to want it, or to not really think it's gonna get come to them, or whatever the case may be, because of past things. Would you, I mean, I know that that's been my experience with
yeah,
manifesting.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So
I
it's
really
like,
relate to that.
pardon?
I really relate to that 100%.
Yeah, you know, we all have like these very human kind of stories within us from our past that tell us, you know, this is how the world is, this is how people is. And in overcoming those, it gets us even closer to our dream and to bringing our dreams into the world. So, I mean, what you're doing is so brave. It's so needed. And just because you've had such an incredible journey and will continue to have it, you know, infusing that into Templa is going to help so many people as well on their journey.
Yeah, and that's my, deepest wish really, is just to kind of share this, I guess, knowledge that I've learned myself, and then just share it like further and wider, so that people can kind of pick that up a little bit earlier on their path to make it that little bit easier. And like I said before, I mentioned before, of like having, when I was in my 20s, I wanted my private chefing business, and that was my North Star. And reaching that North Star and then coming to it, I already know that sometimes that North Star of what you feel like, that destination that you're going to arrive at, will be like, the heavens will open and everything will be fine, you won't have any problems. And then sure enough, it just molds and changes. But that's also like part of how I wanted the app to kind of be designed as well. It's like, like I want people to realize it's not the thing that is gonna make everything else. It's the journey that you're taking on the way. And that's why it's so important to keep track of your day to day, so that you can reflect and then look back and know that everything that you've accumulated, all the lessons, all the wrong turns, all the refusals, rejections, and all those actually amount to giving you exactly what you need, even though it's like a hard pill to swallow at the time. Eventually things come full circle, and it's a way to be able to measure and look back on that, to know, oh, that was like a really key moment in my life. And knowing that we do obviously want to evolve and grow and move towards different things, but having that kind of knowledge to be able to identify those patterns helps you move through things quicker as well. And yeah, it's just a way to unite people that are on this journey, so that we can all support one another as well, which I think, obviously, like having conversations like this, Giselle, is like, knowing that you and I are like a kind of kindred spirits in some ways, that we understand each other, and it just makes you feel way more human to know, like, oh, I'm not the only one,
Absolutely, absolutely. And that is what this podcast is about, and having these conversations for other people to hear. There were so many things I know the listeners can resonate with. If there was anything you guys did resonate with, please send me a note on Instagram and let me know what you loved the most from this episode. There's so many things that I took away, and just things that we all need to be reminded of, the importance of checking in with ourselves and connecting to ourselves, the importance of actually facing the things that are uncomfortable and we don't necessarily want to face, because of how they can lead us to the places that we really do want to be. So thank you so much, Lucie, for your time and for your wisdom. And is there any kind of final words that you'd like to share with the listeners?
Just believe in yourself. You literally are the key of your own kingdom. So I just want to connect with anyone that's going through a tough time, or can't make sense of things right now. I just want anyone to know that's experiencing that it will make sense at some point, and it's going to be better than you could ever imagine.
I love that. I love that. You guys can connect with Lucie. I will leave her Instagram handle and all the info to download TEMPLA below. I hope you really enjoyed this episode. If you did, leave a rating, leave a review on Apple. I really appreciate you guys for listening and being on this journey. And I will see you on the next episode. Keep being gentle with yourselves. Bye.
Well, bye.
Yay! Thank you.
I nearly cried on that last. I was like, I don't know where that came from.
Yes, it was beautiful. Believe in yourself. I mean, I think we can both be reminded to do that, when when things are challenging. And yeah, thank you so much for your honesty, like I said, and your vulnerability. I think this is beautiful. I can't wait to put it up. I'm hoping to put it up Tuesday because I usually release an episode on Tuesdays. If you can
Yeah.
get me the recording relatively quickly and I can chop it
Yeah.
up. But oh, that was so good, Lucie.
I can send it to you right now. Thanks so much, Giselle, for the
No,
platform.
thank you.
So grateful. Yeah, I'm actually taking weirdly a break from social media right now because it's just been quite
It's
heavy out there.
heavy. Yeah,
But
for sure.
I will obviously share this once it comes out. But yeah, I'm really grateful for the platform and just like love what you're doing. And yeah, just so grateful for our connection.
Yes, me too. And I agree, we are a kindred spirit. I'm so glad we met through that Boss Babe network or whatever, random, and we've been
Yeah.
able to stay connected. So yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Send me like the links to TEMPLA in the App Store and
Yeah.
like all that stuff so I can put it in the show notes as well.
Yeah, sure.
And I will let you know when it goes out. No obligation to share it. I always reshare my podcast episodes months later anyway, because
Yeah.
I repurpose everything.
Yeah, I will share it because I know a lot of my following does
Yeah.
listen to them, which is good. And
Oh,
I think like for me, just going forward, I just want to do podcasts. Like
yes.
it's where I feel most comfortable. I
Mhm.
don't like being in front of a camera, so it just feels like such an effort. And I'm just gonna go the path of least resistance and just do podcasts because that's where I
Yes.
feel like I'm my most natural self.
I know. I'm the same. I go live on Instagram. Like, I don't mind going live on Instagram. I haven't in a while, but I love my podcast. And everyone's like, your podcast should be a video. It should be on YouTube. And I'm like, I like the fact that like when Spirit is like, you need to deliver this message now, and I'm like in my pajamas, I can just
Yeah,
open my
exactly.
laptop and, channel it. I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't want to put on makeup and do my hair and all that.
yeah.
Like, yeah. So I relate, and I hope to hear you on more podcasts.
Yay. All right, darling. Have
All
a
right.
beautiful evening, and I'll
You
send that to you right
too.
now.
Thank
Okay.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. It would mean so much if you could subscribe, leave a review, share with your friends and family, and let me know what you think by going to my Instagram at mighty_emotions and connecting with me and letting me know what you loved about today's episode. It really means a lot that you support this podcast, and I love coming to you each week with a new episode. So be sure to subscribe, let me know what you think, and take care of yourself.